I think probably one of the best known and most highly publicized controversies comes with the sheriff's request for an increase in his budget. Talk to us a little bit about that and where you have stood traditionally on that issue.
So inherently governmental functions. Public safety is the first one. It doesn't matter what else we do if you're not safe in your own neighborhood and your own home. Okay? So that should be the very first thing that we spend money on. If you go back to the history of America as we stood up, the sheriff was the first person you hired. Because it's very clear that if we're not safe, then nothing else matters. So we have historically underfunded the sheriff so badly. It goes back to and really this is all about politics and personalities. If you'll remember, then County Administrator George Tewart said, because he didn't like the way that the sheriff's budget request to run the jail effectively, he said, well, I can run it cheaper. Nobody asked how. He had no experience running a jail. Nobody asked the hard questions, so we take over the jail. We didn't know how to run it properly, didn't actually apply the emergency action procedures during the flood of 14. Jail blows up, citizens die and are injured, and we end up with a $120 million capital cost burden on our budget, simply because of politics being put over the people and not asking the hard questions when we should have. Sheriff's budget is just an extension of that same argument. We could have funded the sheriff on the spot. The budget request that he gave us was not egregious. And in fact, the budget request, if I were the sheriff, I would have asked for more.
Was it a philosophical difference among commissioners?
I think that it was a purely political difference. I did not see or hear in all of our discussions any kind of a robust dialogue about the philosophical aspect of putting public safety first. It was all about, well, we've got to carve up the baby, and we've got to, all these different metaphors that politicians use that I don't really understand. But the pot's only so big, and we've got to make sure that we fund everything. Well, that's not actually true. You don't have to fund everything, and in fact, in your own personal budget, you probably don't fund everything. I would love to have a Porsche sitting in my driveway, but that's not a priority. My kid's going to college is, paying the mortgage every month, that's a priority. So if you focus if it's priority-based spending, what is my top priority? What are the things I cannot do without? One thing we cannot do without is a population of well-trained, well-paid, well-resourced police officers on our street. When you constrain your resource, when the police officers that are on the street are too few, when they are stressed out from overwork and they've got issues at home because of underpay, because there's not enough money to train them on some of the more complex issues of policing that are taking place today, you are setting yourself up for failure. And here's the cost, Edie. It's not that we tend to measure, how long from when you hit 911 until somebody's at your door. The real cost is this. If you have fully trained police officers on the street every day, then a child has contact with a police officer in a positive light long before they ever get arrested. If the first time that you get contact with a police officer, he's putting you in the back of the car, then that's the kind of thing that creates a division in our society that you see in other places around the country, where they talk about the police brutality and the division between particularly our minority population and our police officers. If we have enough police officers on the street engaged with their population, we grow as a society, as a law-abiding society, and a society that looks at that police officer. When I see a police officer, I think, I'm safe. Not everybody in our society feels that way, and a big part of the reason why is because we have shortchanged our public safety for years here in Escambia County.